No doubt, there most certainly is a perceived or perceptible difference. We have seen in the records from the Department for the Admissions, as well as in the records from the Joint Information Agency, that there is a serious surge in the activities of folks who are um, beginning to investigate viable, more-centric centers of gravity. As more of our folks are gradually coming out of their slumber, and as more of our folks are electing to leave out of the holding pattern that they have been in as of late, they are now beginning to show forth an interest in walking away from the quote-unquote Eurocentric center of gravity, and they are now expressing interest in the Moorcentric center of gravity, and a lot of folks are gravitating in our direction. Thing is, just because folks are gravitating in our direction does not mean that we are a good fit for them, and vice versa. We're not hostile to the idea of working with parties. It's just that we're not going to deal with certain things right now. Um, we're not going to deal with other issues at all. When parties come to this venue, we make things plain on the front end how we proceed and why. That way, it nips a whole lot of things in the bud, as they say. Now, I raise the issue primarily because one thing we're noticing there is in the questionnaire scenarios, what we're noticing in um, the initial contact that folks are having with us, according to the records I've seen. And I had to speak with the Department for the Admissions Art Director on a couple of matters to get clarity, because when I spoke to the Minister for the Interior on the subject, um, he too was looking for the same clarity that I'm looking for, so that at the council level, when we work on particular things, we have a good point of reference to address matters from. So we're looking for clarity on certain things, and that goes back to the issue where I raise all this. A lot of folks who are just now waking up to particular things, they're hearing about issues of nationality, they're hearing about issues regarding sovereignty, and they're hearing it from so many different perspectives. I guess a lot of folks are, not I guess, from what I can see, it appears to be that a lot of folks are confused about the distinction between nationality and sovereignty. Now, I guess a lot of folks can say with a straight face, hey, we've all been at that particular stage of development at one point in life or another. Uh, in terms of having particular information on CAP, or having mastery over particular things, or not having it. Well, a lot of folks need to be clear that nationality pretty much it just boils down to what your political status is. Um, by and large, I'm talking about strictly from a customary international law and international law perspective. I'm not getting into any other social or civil components of it. I'm only dealing in the matter from the non-martial uh, uh, complexity of the issue. So it comes down to, it's just nationality. Just really comes down to what folks are doing with their political status, and that ties them back to the genuine question that's always asked. The opening question asked in international law is always, what body of law speaks for you? Which is the fancy way of saying, what's your nationality? Pretty much. And again, that can go into a whole lot of things. It'll take me 90 hours to go through all that. We're not doing that right now. Folks can get to the nearest law library, wherever they do their thing at, and they can do their own research at their own pace. Um, Sovereignty, on the other hand, is even easier. It just simply is what it is. Freedom from external control to do that which you're here on this planet to do, as long as you don't impose your will upon somebody else or infringe upon someone's right to do the same. Effectively, that's what sovereignty is. Freedom from external control for you to take care of things on your own terms, under your own aegis, under your own auspices. It's pretty much that simple. Now, nationality and sovereignty, as I've explained them just now, or went into them just now, is pretty straightforward. How to engage in them, well, that is a horse of another color, as they say. This is why we have a 3-year training regimen for all Amexem-Moor-Empire nationals. I don't care how long you've been declared or quote-unquote proclaimed as a Moor. You come into the Amexem-Moor-Empire jurisdiction, you come within this particular government structure, you will train. There's no getting around that. If folks knew what in the world they were doing, our folks would be in a better condition. But our folks mean well. But meaning well doesn't mean that you have a clue as to what in the world you're doing. Point blank. So I don't care how long someone's told me that they've known about what it is to be a Moor. You come into this venue, you're going to train from the very beginning. In a story. Because a lot of folks have gotten hurt listening to these folks that mean well, that have no idea as to what in the world they're doing, have no clue as to what in the world they're talking about, and they spew forth stuff that is basically meaningless, pointless, about somebody else's stuff that have nothing to do with them, that's all tied to some commercial nonsense. I'm like, yes, commercial issues for commerce purposes is one thing at government level, but at individual basis, that's a whole separate issue when you're talking about one natural being, one national, as opposed to some inorganic scenario. We're talking about organic, not inorganic in this jurisdiction. And folks need to get their heads out of the sand on particular things. They give parties hostile to them entirely too much power. They even bring them into their conversations all the time. Like, why do you even bother to do that? What do they have to do with you? Unless you just love the contract and to their madness. And if that's who you are, alright, that's fine. But don't go and say that you are about a Moorcentric center of gravity when all you talk about and all you bow down to is a Eurocentric center of gravity. So folks need to decide what they want to do, why they want to do it, and get a clue. And the sooner they do that, the better for everyone. So those who are looking, who are just now starting to come out of the fog, who are just now starting to wake up, they've been getting hurt because of these very parts I'm talking about. Some of them anyway. But there are those who are looking for that which is right, that which is truth. And in spirit, they may not know what it is, but they recognize it when they see it. And when they come across folks who are spewing forth that other madness, they know instinctively, this doesn't quite sound right. Something's missing. And folks can always see what's going on when parties will not make full disclosure or will not be transparent with them. If they're not telling you the full story, walk away. When the Amexem-Moor-Empire convenes for our briefings, our folks who participate in our briefings, they have all said the same thing. Basically, they cannot believe some of the things that we go into openly, things that others wouldn't go into because it might be embarrassing, or things they wouldn't go into because they want to conceal it to make folks jump through hoops to get it. So, we are about the transparency issue to give folks the opportunity to make up their own mind. And a lot of folks, they look at what we do and how we proceed, and they have no choice but to respect it in their own minds. We tell folks, look, you know how we do. Look, we're not saying we are the best. We're not saying we're the only ones. We're not saying we are the only operation that's out there. But we're not too bad at all. That much I will say. We're working to get a few things advanced now. We're working to get a few things straight so that as these folks begin to wake up and begin to ask legitimate questions, they will find there is a viable alternative, a viable solution, a viable option available unto them in the form of the Amexem-Moor-Empire, and that they will follow their own spirit. They will do their own research on their own terms, and they will discern for themselves whether or not what we expound upon, what we exist and function by and through and for, is something that is relative to them and what they think is best for them and their families. So as they look for a more centric center of gravity, we want folks to know, look, we're here and there are others that's here. Now, it's up to you to decide what's best for you and your family. And that's the best gift we can actually give to someone, is to show them the way and let them do their own research on their own terms.